We must seize them in...
Oops, there we go. Okay. It's being weird. There we go. It was being weird. Okay, and everything seems fine-ish. You're good, you're good, you're good, and there we go. All right, hope everyone's doing well. Let's see, we've got, I saw a Shanghai, China finally able to catch one live again after more than 6 months. Nice. Good to have you back. Got Edinburgh, Scotland, and Texas, and we've got Tinley Park, Illinois, and nice and muggy here in South Ontario. Got a muggy District of Columbia. Hello from South Florida. Heat and humidity are in a race today, it seems. Yeah. It's pretty humid here, but that's because it rained literally all day yesterday, pretty much. It might have stopped for a moment around dinner time and then went back at it. I think it's done now, but everything is moist. So it's not particularly hot, though, so I guess we got that going. It's only 63, so that's not too bad. Morning, Adam and the rest of the hobby fans out there. Yesterday, I played my first 40K tournament in 2 years. It was nice to be back. Central Virginia. Nice. VJ Morph, how you doing? DJ Todd P. Harris, how you doing? Good morning from Ohio. Wrapping up birthday shenanigans weekend. Nice. My birthday shenanigans weekend is next weekend, so that'll be something. Let's see here. Got in the Gaslands match yesterday. Nice. Saber's Edge, how you doing? Sundered Psyche, how you doing? Vose Noctum. I need a bunch of zombies for my vampires. Does anyone know if Zombicide Black Plague minis are 25mm base or thereabouts? You mean the base width, or do you mean that they're roughly 25, 28mm? I think that's right, but I'm not sure. To be fair, I don't have the game. J Solo Arts, how you doing? Just in from a nice late night run in time for the show. Running late at night, oh my goodness. Let's see here. Where are we at? Seize the means of production. Yeah, it was like a weird anti-communist cookie commercial. I don't know what that was all about. Greetings from Gothenburg. Painted Carthaginians and Numidians for Saga and skeletons for Oathmark. Nice. Good morning from the caterpillar-ravaged countryside of southern Ontario. Maybe a Rain in Hell expansion for Sylvaneth players. I mean, really, Sylvaneth, those trees, evil demon trees, no reason you couldn't. Hello from Hartford, Wisconsin. That's not too far away. Good morning from Mexico. That's a bit more far away. Copenhagen, Salt Lake City, wet and gloomy Indianapolis. Let's see here. Nice Swedish day here. Well, that sounds good. I won my first Sigmar game yesterday with a Shot and Pike Cities formation. 11 Sigmar. Nice. Molly says, seconding the mugginess of southern Ontario. Yeah, muggy, it seems to be a thing right now going on here in the United States. Let's see here. Morning from North Dakota. Hello from London. Good morning. Sunny Scotland. Super humid here, too. Happy early birthday from Houston, Uncle Adam. Well, I appreciate it, Ray. Let's see here. Corpus Christi. Greetings from Detroit Nerd Bunker. Painting Cursed City minis today. Looking forward to getting back to person gaming, but still lots of models and solo games for the pandemic. Nice. Let's see here. Going to be local comic and toy convention today. Nice. Let's see here. How are you doing with kit bashing your different robots? I have one that needs, I can't remember if he needs to have his base textured or not, but he definitely needs to be primed. But I've been real busy working on all the stuff for Rain in Hell and everything like that. I've been working on, what did I do yesterday? Yesterday I built, if you follow me on Twitter, I posted some pictures. I built a devout for my brokers. The devout for the brokers is known as the Tallyman. And I used, I used one of these. I I have a bunch of these. Like every time I go into a game store and I find these and they're priced between $15 and $20, I basically always pick one up because they're awesome for conversions. So I gave him a different head. I shaved off those big honking horns on his shoulder pad. I gave him another shoulder pad on the other side that doesn't match but looks kind of cool. And then kind of put him on a little bit of a hill that I built up out of cork on the base. It's like a 40 millimeter base. And then I put some skulls on the base. You know, didn't make the base look like it was made of skulls. Just there have been some skulls. There's been some tally. And yeah, so I'm going to actually prime him today with the airbrush. Order my first dry brush. It's due tomorrow. Very excited. Nice. When are you going to do Rain and Hell Bat Rep? As soon as I can get to, what do you call them? 2 cabals put together and painted. The models that I painted that we took pictures of for the game, frankly, a lot of them are kind of large, so I don't have a ton of minions, and so it's not like I started off with 2 finished warbands and all that kind of stuff. I know in the future, next game we do, we now have a list of all the things that need to be done before we launched. Otherwise, everyone just asks us about it over and over and over again. So, yeah, we just have to have all those things done before we launch. This time we did not, and so that was on us. Good morning from Jefferson, Wisconsin. I'm actually going to play my first mini game since the start of the pandemic, playing Warlord by Reaper Miniatures. Nice. Good morning from the Oregon coast. Weather's pretty nice here, unlike the rest of the state getting hit with pretty bad heat wave. I've been hearing the Pacific Northwest. I've got some friends in Seattle, and yeah, it's evidently real hot. Way hotter than it is here. Hi from London, just painting up Templar Knights for my Crusader army. Nice. Been working on a robot kit bash for the last couple of weeks. Whether I use it in game, it doesn't matter. Yeah, but that's what I like about the hobby as well, is that, you know, I might be able to use it in a game, might be able to shoehorn it into some sort of cool, fun thing, but I don't have to, you know. It could be almost like, kind of like in Rain and Hell, you've got the Beast, that particular scenario. I could just basically make the same type of scenario, but use it for whatever type of game, like Planet 28 or, you know, Space Weirdos, something kind of, you know, sci-fi. Planet 28 and Space Weirdos are both small skirmish indie games. You can get both of them over at wargamevault.com, so you should definitely check that out. Is the Tallyman going to be called Count Drippy? I don't know. It's a good question. How's Uncle Tickles doing? Just saw him on Thursday. He's up in the studio. Yeah. Doing well. I used that Lord of Plagues for one of the Wormspat characters for Underworlds. Nice. When is the Game 4 app going to be again? So we've started. We actually this week I'm starting to work on. I guess probably not a new layout, but we're going to be tweaking the layout. We're going to be tweaking everything. Everything's going to kind of get rebuilt, except for the database. The database is. We're not changing stuff there, but the front end, I guess, is what you would call it if you're into that kind of thing. The front end is going to be kind of redone, so we're in the process of doing it. Greetings from a searing hot Serbia, dropping off kids to grandparents, and then it's going to be a week-long session of learning wet blending. Wish me luck. Nice. Very much looking forward to you videoing your hobby progress vlog. It'll be interesting to see. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. How's Diesel doing? Well, I hope. He was a little... he had some... how can I say this delicately? He had some basement plumbing issues yesterday, a little bit, but otherwise he was... he's been pretty good. He was sad to not go outside much yesterday, but it was raining. Like, we tried at one point, but like, okay, you want to go outside in the rain? And he was like, no. And so... yeah, but he likes to go outside, so hopefully today it'll start to dry up enough, and then we'll take him outside for a little walk. Good afternoon from Scotland. I was planning on starting to paint my Great Unclean One today, but instead tested positive for COVID, so I'm having to lie down. Miracle gives and taketh away. That's the, yeah. Well, I hope you feel better soon. Absolutely, yeah. little late, but happy to be here watching, or attaching 80 Necrons to their bases while listening. That's a lot of Necrons, absolutely. Uncle Adam, a rain question for you. Could the judges find common cause with the Lords of Hell? Both are about rules and laws, after all. Love the game. Awesome job. I mean, we never really talked about any kind of allies or anything like that. I mean, that may be... I don't know. I mean, just off the top of my head, there could be potentially some sort of, like, special expansion, like not FAQ, like a freebie kind of PDF expansion, maybe. I mean, I guess you could then pick and choose, but you would think that the philosophies would be pretty singular in their ideals, and they wouldn't want to work together. But, I mean, there could be some that could, maybe. Maybe down the road we might make it where there's, like, because there's 6 philosophies, maybe there's 3 pairs that can attach to each other, or can be friends or something like that, or whatever. And then you could build a cabal made up of 2 separate philosophies, but then I don't know exactly how you would keep track of the special abilities and things like that. So that's, I don't know. We are working on the expansion, which will be free. It'll be a free PDF download that will have solo and co-op play. We were talking about it, Vince and I, on Thursday night. We're aiming for 6 scenarios, so it will be a story-driven free add-on that you can play through either solo or co-op, and it will be basically kind of like, instead of like the way that the current game is, where you can kind of randomly pick which scenarios you want to do, this one has got a kind of beginning, middle, and end. So you're taking scenario 1, then scenario 2, and scenario 3, and scenario 4, and that kind of stuff. And then basically you win if you survive through scenario 6, and if you don't, well, then you don't. But yeah, that'll be coming out mid to late July. I think Vince said that he's got 4 of the 6 scenarios finished. So, but yeah, that'll be coming out, like I said, in July, mid to late July, and it'll be a free download. It'll be available on wargamevault.com, and we'll post about it all over the place and blah blah blah, and you'll hear about it, and then you'll be able to download it and then be able to play the game solo or co-op. So there you go. What Warcry warband should I start with? I mean, the one you like the look of, because you're going to need to build it and paint it. I always tell people, find something that you like the look of, and then work there. And then if you decide eventually you want to get into competitive play, then you can start to build and paint, forces that you may not actually prefer, but they might be really good in the game, and then that's your choice. But if you're just like, I don't know what to do, find something that looks cool, and then go from there. Just about to wrap up a Necron mini swap. We'll be happy to never paint another one, frankly. I don't know. I didn't mind painting the Necrons, like the Indominus ones. They were fun. Any chance of getting a video down the road for your favorite paints, like black and white, or your favorite colors for leather, steel, hair, etc.? I mean, maybe it's potentially, yeah. I don't know. I mean, I could talk about that. Yeah, that's maybe something to think about. I guess I haven't really thought about it as far. Like, I do have favorites for those types of things, but I think everybody's kind of got their own favorites generally. So it's but yeah, that's interesting. Currently in Wales, sticking Troggoths together, as trolls are cool. I was sticking myself together yesterday. There was a point where I put a bunch of glue onto the base that I was trying to make out of cork for the guy to stand on, my devout, and I did something, and then all of a sudden a good portion of my palm was covered in CA glue, and it took some time to get rid of it. So I completed one of my goals yesterday. That was to finish all the warbands for Underworlds through Season 3 Beastgrave. I finalized Blade Count Coven, went with She-Ra theme on them. Nice. That's a lot of paint. Wow, nice. I made the terrible mistake going to a local game store this past week just to see what's new. I don't need to see all the new shiny stuff. Yeah, what have I bought recently? Not a lot. I bought some paints that I needed. What contrast? It was a contrast color that I needed. Siliconum gray? It might have been that. Oh. I picked this up too. This is neat. It's one of those whiz kids, you know, like where they're like pre-primed or whatever. But it is like pillars, what do they call it? Pillars and banners. And so it is 4 of these like kind of stone pillars. You can kind of see them in there. There's 4 of these like stone pillars and then a bunch of these banners and then some busted pillar bases and things like that. And it's just, I don't know, it was like $15. I'm like, well, this can be great for terrain, specifically for Rain in Hell, so I could do something cool with this, like build some stuff and then add this to it. You know, I wouldn't just like stick this on the tabletop. You could, but I would want to use this as an embellishment on a piece of terrain. Yeah, so that, I think, and the Lord of Plagues there are about the only things that I've purchased recently. Hello from a very moist Montreal. I'm painting up some plague rats for my Age of Sigmar Nurgle army. Nice. I don't use Twitch, but do watch your videos from YouTube. We'd love to see more of your newly painted figures on this channel. Okay. Yeah, I mean, that's maybe not necessarily a bad idea. I could see that. Just saw that they have done Warcry cards for the Gravelords. Might pick up some of the Crimson Courts minis now. Yeah, they posted the stuff Friday or Saturday, I think. And I had a bunch of people reach out to me and say, hey, you know, they released a bunch of Warcry stats for your for the skeletons and stuff that I had been talking about when they first launched Cursed City. So that was cool. Yeah, I'm gonna definitely I think I was looking at the numbers. I think I'm gonna try to start off by building a warband that is gonna be a necromancer, maybe a couple of Vargheists, maybe just one, but maybe a couple, and then everything else is skeletons. Because the skeletons are between like 50 and 70 points depending. So I only have 10 of them painted because that's just the 10 that came with Cursed City. So if I want to run 10 of them, then I'm at best going to be at 7. Well, no, I think I'd be less because like some of them are like the ones with swords are 1 cost and the one with spears are 1 cost, and I don't, I've got a mixture of them because I just built all of them that were in the box. So let's say for Grins I could make 600 points. Well, I still need another 400 points. So again, you need a leader. So technically the skeleton kind of sergeant or whatever could be a leader, but I think the necromancer and some Vargheists would be cool too. And plus, I've already got those painted and done, so not too bad. A friend spilled glue the other day, dropped something, got down to pick it all up, and somehow super gluing his knee to his nipple. So don't hobby in just shorts, I guess. Yeah, no, definitely. Do not super glue your knee to your nipple. So he got it on his and then bent down. Yeah, I could see it. Yep. No, definitely. I mean, like, I don't wear an apron like Vince does, but it's a smart idea. Vince is not. I do have some pants with glue stuck to them. I have some pants with a little bit of paint in there. But yeah, absolutely. I have a bunch of Midlam minis, tentacle cultists that would be good for Rain and Hell minis. Any good Cthulhu monsters for the rest of the Cabal? Well, I would tell you to use. There's a really cool Cthulhu model actually from WizKids, but it's like he's coming up out of the water, which wouldn't make sense with Rain and Hell. It doesn't make any sense. It's a cool model though. I know that Reaper Bones makes a big Cthulhu, but it's maybe almost a little too big. Same with, who else? Dust 1947, made by a company called Dust USA. Although I think they probably have a European version as well. Anyway, they have Cthulhu cultists in that game, and there is an avatar of Cthulhu who's not full-blown Cthulhu size. He would be very large, I would assume. But this guy's maybe, yeah. So he might work as a devout. It's hard to say. Just got into Aeronautica Imperialis after 20 years of not playing a GW game. Man, it is rough finding cards, books, and maps. I know. It's just that whole kind of just like, well, we're just going to do these splash launches and limited stuff. If you want to get into the game, it becomes very difficult to do so in certain situations. And that's, Yeah, that's something that's something Vince and I don't want to do, and which is why we're sticking with the print on demand stuff. Though that also sometimes has its own issues, but that's been taken care of. Yeah, so I do know what you mean, though, definitely. I know you're not a fan of mass army games. What do you think of Parabellum's skirmish game, First Blood? I've heard that they've done a skirmish game. I kind of like some of their models. I have not tried it out. I do want to check it though, because when they first launched Conquest, I liked the fact that, yeah, you're pushing it around in like rectangles, which I'm not super into big games like that, especially rank and flank stuff. But then everything was still on a circle base, though. And you're seeing companies doing that now. Song of Ice and Fire, the other ones, anyway. But the idea behind that then is that when you're putting them then in the trays, you can turn them a little bit if this guy's spear is poking the other guy in the back of the head. And that way you don't have to worry about it. Whereas back when it was square bases, you had to be very careful about how you put them together in the trays so that stuff wouldn't happen. So, I mean, that's a smart move. The other part of it being a smart move is that it's very simple to make a skirmish game and then just use all the same models. So that was, I think, a smart move on their part. But like I said, I haven't tried the rule set or anything like that. I should probably download it. Any hope of your next game design being Cat Police? Maybe something in sort of the vein of Rangers of Shadow Deep? No, that's... The Cat Police will probably not be a game design, I'm sure of it. But yeah, it's I do want to do a little bit more of that. I streamed some PC video game stuff a couple weeks back, and I don't know, I might stream again some video game stuff soon. I've been wanting to stream actually some Valheim because I played a bunch of it with moderator Matt and some other folks. Eeny Minis and from Twitch and some other folks, and I wanted to start a new game from scratch, and kind of because I've gotten to the point, I haven't beat the final boss yet in it, but I've gotten to the point where, like, for an early access game, it had a ton of content and it was great and it's cool, but we got to the point where we were sort of in the end game, you know what I mean? Because we played it a bunch, like, I don't know, I think according to Steam, I put over the course of several months at the end of the pandemic, I probably put like 110 hours into it. So it was just sort of a fun thing to do when I'm not painting and stuff like that and whatever. And I think I could see streaming that a little bit, but plenty of people enjoyed when I was playing Grand Theft Auto and doing the Cat Police thing. But that's in the PlayStation 4, and I have to get that hooked back up to a PC again so I can properly stream it. So there's that. Lord of the Print on Patreon has a really cool Necromancer STL this month. Ooh, I do like Necromancers. They're pretty cool. Back to Pulp Alley Kickstarter. Fun skirmish game you can use any setting if you want through the Pulp era. Lots of fun. Why are they having a Kickstarter? Is it a new Kickstarter? Because Pulp Alley is already available. I've seen it on Wargame Vault. Unless they're doing a Kickstarter for their 3rd edition or something like that. Weird. I got the Cthulhu Wars Kickstarter years ago. Never played the game, so I sold it, but I kept all the extras, so I still have my glow-in-the-dark Cthulhu. Nice. Neckbeardia do some lovely tentacled guys. Nice. Hope you had a nice day. Just got my first airbrush and tried painting some Necron Warriors with it. Runelord Brass comes out very light bronze, even after many coats. Are you spraying it over black? Or are you spraying it over straight plastic? What are you priming with? And also Runelord Brass. Is that a GW color? Is it a GW Air color, or is it just the GW normal paint and you've thinned it down some? These are questions. Finished building the ships for Armada the other day, hoping to Zenithal and smash out some contrast this week. Nice. Let's see here. Parabellum is doing some great things with Conquest, but most people really prefer rank and flank, though there is no reason folks can't play the Skirmish First Blood version. Yeah, I just don't like rank and flank games. I don't know what it is. I've been finding highlighting with regular paint over contrast really hard because of the glare off the gloss. Do you think hitting them with a matte varnish first might help? I mean, you could, certainly. The benefit, I think, especially if you're going to put a matte varnish over the contrast, is that sometimes contrast is not the most robust as a paint. Like, once it dries, it can be, I don't want to say brushed off, but it doesn't take damage as well as normal opaque paints, like, Proacryl or Vallejo or even GW stuff. So contrast can be a little delicate. So throwing a matte varnish over it before you start doing other stuff over the top of it's not a terrible idea, frankly. I generally don't because I'm lazy, but I'm also using a lot of makeup brushes, and they're generally a bit of a softer touch if I'm doing dry brush stuff. So yeah. Many of the miniatures from the Mansions of Madness board game would work really well in Reign in Hell, especially the Star Spawn, which is very Cthulhu-like. That's kind of cool. There is a Cthulhu head in the North Star Miniatures Stargrave set. Yeah, kind of. I mean, he's supposed to be an alien, but he looks kind of Cthulhu. He's got a Cthulhu face. Question about the merch. Wasn't there a new shirt coming out from you soon with your face on it? There's a bunch of stuff coming out soon, but again, it's been... Having 3 jobs now it's a lot of work, as it turns out. So, yeah, I was just thinking about merch, though, this morning, actually. Let's see here. Aeronautica Imperios has been fun, but we used a larger 6x4 hex map, which was a lot better than the smaller one. Interesting. Looking for rules for a post-apocalyptic skirmish game, but in 20mm. Have a bunch of Dark Alliance minis. Any ideas? Greetings from Poland. The only thing I could think of would be potentially a game by Ganesha or Ganesha Games. Depends on how you pronounce it, I guess. Called Mutants and Death Ray Guns. Mutants and Death Ray Guns is a skirmish post-apocalyptic type game, and it can be played in 28mm or 15mm, but 20 is pretty close, I would think. It's just the thing about the game is that instead of using tape measure, you use these sticks. They tell you make a small stick, a medium stick, and a large stick, and then everybody's like, oh, this guy can move 2 large sticks, or this gun can shoot only 2 medium sticks, or whatever, that kind of stuff. So instead of, but then the idea is then you make certain size sticks if you're playing 28mm, you make smaller sticks if you're playing 15/20mm. And then it's just, they don't have to go through the rules and go shoot this distance or this distance. They just go shoot 2 long or shoot 1, medium or whatever. And then depending on which sticks you're using, it's fine. But yeah, I would take a look at Mutants and Death Ray Guns. It's a PDF you can buy. It's inexpensive. But I think there's also print-on-demand version. But yeah, try that out. Mutants and Death Ray Guns from Ganesha or Ganesha Games. Same folks that do Song of Blades and Heroes. So it's part of that kind of system. I know that you're a big proponent of model-agnostic games. Would you mind giving us your top 3 or 5? These days, I'm a big fan of... Let's see here. In no particular order, Zona Alpha, Star Breach, Planet 28, the Space Weirdos I've been enjoying quite a bit. It's a PDF you can buy, but it's like designed to be printed if you want to, and so you can print it in Adobe Acrobat. You can say, hey, print it as a booklet, and then there's a little bit of fiddling around, but it'll print it as a booklet, and you fold it and then staple it, and then there you got yourself a cool little zine. I think Reign in Hell, it's a pretty good game too. So there's that, miniatures agnostic stuff. Those are the ones that I've been enjoying lately. Starbox and new minis for Pulp Alley. Oh, okay. Must be something wrong with me. I'm starting to be compelled by classic Battletech again. I'm going to be going to Gen Con in mid-September. Part of what this particular video today, talking a little bit about getting back out there. That's a picture from Gen Con. That looks like it's in the Battletech area, actually. I was looking for a picture on my phone that was a lot of people sort of densely packed a little bit to be like, this is where we're headed back to again. Let's see how that works. Anyway, when I go to when I go to Gen Con, I look at Battletech and I go, yeah, and then it doesn't stick. I don't know why. It was the first regular true miniatures game that I started playing in middle school, but I did a demo 2-3 years ago at Gen Con and played it and went, oh yeah, I remember this. And it hasn't quite stuck with me lately, and I don't know why. I think it's just there's just still way too much paperwork, and there's that. So there you go. Does GW have a contrast paint set? Not that I know of, no. Or can you recommend base contrast paints to get? Start with the browns, honestly. Well, okay. Black Templar, spectacular. Very, very good for anything you need to be almost black. So yeah, I use that all the time, but I also use like Skeleton Horde, Agaros Dunes, Snakebite Leather, Wildwood. Like all those types of browns are really great for a lot of things. Even if you're painting your model mostly all opaque, every once in a while you're just like, this strap needs to be brown, but not just flat brown. I don't want to come back and have to do like 3 more steps on it to make it look a little bit better. And you just go in there with some Snakebite Leather and then like, yeah, it looks good, cool. Maybe you throw a touch of wash in there if you're really feeling saucy, but that's basically about it. It's pretty simple. So yeah, I would tell you to start with black. Like I said, Black Templar. I would tell you to go with the brown colors. Pick up a bunch of those. Those are all good. What's the other one I use a lot? I use Blood Angels Red a lot too, especially for like wounds and like, you know, if you're painting Nurgle and stuff like that, and you have to have sores and wounds. That's a spectacular color for that too. You ever hear the song by Rush called The Necromancer? It's pretty cool. I don't think I've heard their song about the Necromancer. That does sound pretty cool. It's a normal paint that I thinned with some Vallejo airbrush thinner until I had a milky consistency. They were primed with Chaos Black about a month before I airbrushed them. I mean, some metallics can be, especially if you thin them too much, they can be real hard to put over anything, especially black. I mean, that's generally you airbrush metallic over black, but if you over thin sometimes a color, like if it's a normal color from GW, I've found that trying to thin it down a metallic from GW to spray through the airbrush, it's real tough. It doesn't work as well as it probably ought to. Just have to say, Kill Team is exploding in Cape Town, South Africa. Not even close to dead. Well, that's good to hear. Oh, now it's scrolled. Sorry. There we go. Painting a new team today, number 7. Keep on keeping it, Uncle. Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, no, what am I working on? I was thinking about working on something new for Kill Team recently. Now I forgot what it was. Yep, no, I forgot what it was. But there's definitely something that I want to do for Kill Team. I still want to do I still got to paint Tau, and they're built. I think their bases are even textured. I still want to do Orcs, I guess, is also a thing. Oh, I know what it was. It was the Imperial Guard. Yeah, the Imperial Guard that I built that list, and then I'm gonna go from there and build those guys and do the vlog. I'm like, I knew there was something I was just talking about. Yeah. I want to do that as well. Again, the issue is my fear is I'm going to build them, put them together, get the list and all that stuff, and then second edition will come out, and then it'll be all goofy. But whatever, it happens. A friend of mine might have gotten interested in 40K. I told him no, that way madness lies. But also maybe see if they play Kill Team or Combat Patrol nearby. Tested to paint a model or two. Yeah, it's not a bad idea. I have 5 parsecs from home. No need for other players. That's another one of those miniature agnostic games, and it's also solo, so that's cool too. Oh, I forgot about Stargrave. Definitely been interested in doing Stargrave too. I'm actually getting a bunch of I used this website called terrainmachine.com. So you go to terrainmachine.com, and it's, if you've ever messed with Hero Forge, where you can build your own characters, like you can build your own little person and change their hair and their clothes and their guns and the swords and all that stuff, and spin them around in 3D right in there in your browser, and then you can say, I would like you guys to print that out and send it to me, please. And then they will do that. And it costs like, I don't know, $40 or something like that. But if you're like just doing like one character, if you're going to do a whole warband that way, not good. Not cheap enough, frankly. I get it. But if you're doing like just your character for D&D, it's a great way to personalize exactly what you're looking for. But they also have the ability to just sell you the STL of that thing that you made, so that if you have a 3D printer, or if your friend has a 3D printer, then they can print it out for you. So that's very cool as well. Terrain Machine is like that, but for terrain. So you can be like, I want a house or a building, like a sci-fi building that's about a 1x1, not in feet, but like in units, whatever. Because they make 2x1s and like L shapes, which are like 2x. Well, anyway. And then you can kind of customize stuff. You can say, I want this door here, and I want this window here, and I want to put an antenna up here, and all that cool stuff. And then you pay per thing, and then not per object, but it depends on the size of the building. And then the system turns it into an STL and sends it to you, and then you can get it printed. So I've having Game for Matt, actually, he's taken a look at printing it for me on his FTM printer. So yeah, I've got several buildings, and I want to do that and use those for. I could use them for Star Wars Legion, but I'm probably going to use them more for Stargrave and Planet 28 and stuff like that. Space Weirdos as well. It would be perfect for all those things. Trying to find people to play Age of Sigmar, but with wargaming isn't a thing where I live at all. So no one have even heard of Warhammer or Games Workshop. Any tips on how to go about building up a group from scratch? It's hard to do with an army game like Age of Sigmar, because basically how you build up a group from scratch is that you have to provide everything. If you want to become an advocate for a game, you need to build and paint 2 armies and then try to get people to play with you. And then maybe you will get some conversions. Now, like I said, with army games, that's expensive and takes a long time. But with skirmish games, where you're like 6-7 models per side, it's way easier. So in that situation, you may want to look into Warcry, because then it's way easier to have 2 Warcry bands and play on that small little Warcry board that's like 22 by 30. And then maybe you get some people interested in Warcry, and then eventually those Warcry models can then end up in Age of Sigmar. That's kind of the best bet. But yeah, that's why I tell people when they want to become an advocate for miniature gaming and get people into miniature gaming, it is best to always start with skirmish games, because it's easier on you to just build 2 small skirmish teams as opposed to like, okay, I've got my Age of Sigmar army, but now I have to build and paint another Age of Sigmar army so I can teach Bob how to play. You know what I mean? That's a pain in the butt. Let's see here. I've been rereading the rulebook for Battletech, and some of the reasons I am liking the multi-layered granularity of the rule set. I must be getting old. Well, that happens. Let's see. I'm glad that Rain and Hell is in the top 5. Oh, of my list, sure. I thought you meant the top 5 over at Wargame Vault. Yes, actually, I think we've been number 1 since we launched back on the 28th of May. So a couple more days will be a month of bestseller spot number 1 or whatever, which is spectacular. It's been really, really good. I love classic Battletech. It's what introduced me to wargames back in the late 80s. I mean, mid 80s for me, but that's what got me into wargaming. Yeah, middle school for me. I've been waiting for Battletech Alpha Strike to come back in stock, but when I saw it for sale, I just went, and didn't bother getting it. Yeah, it was, and I've told this story before. I was at Origins, and I walked by like the Catalyst booth, and they had all this stuff for Alpha Strike, and they had this really good deal on all these models, and I was like, oh, that's a pretty good deal. I've been thinking about Alpha Strike, and so I was looking at all this stuff, just really good deal on a whole bunch of boxes of models, and then I was like, so where's the book? And she's like, oh, we didn't have the book in stock. Okay, so you want me to buy models, and well, I didn't say this because I'm not a jerk, but I'm thinking to myself, so you want me to buy all these models, but I don't have any rules for them. That's kind of weird. And then either a year or 2 later, I was at Origins again, and then the books were in stock, and then they didn't really have much in the way of models. So I'm like, well, I'm sorry. It just doesn't work for me. You need to have either. See, this is the thing. That's why I like model agnostic games, because then you just buy the rules, and that's why I like print on demand, because the rules are pretty much always in if you're constantly having to go to China and say, hey, send us more books, and then wait. I mean, especially in this climate right now, shipping containers and stuff like that are super hard to come by, so shipping has slowed way down. There's a lot of companies that are planning on going to Gen Con that are not going to have product because it's not going to be here in time, because of everything that's going on. Well, that's what happens. But when you get things printed, admittedly, you don't make as much profit, but you can also sell stuff when you actually have stuff to sell. And when you don't make any profit. So, Yeah, I don't know. And again, with the plastic and stuff like that, I understand still that in many situations it's way cheaper in China. But when you add up all the costs and then the headaches and stuff like that, I have to ask whether it is actually that much cheaper. With print, living here in the Midwest, specifically in Wisconsin, there's a lot of print companies around here. And I've got a lot of friends that work at print companies, and I know who are also gamers. And they look at these books that are getting printed in China, and they're like, we could have easily printed that here for probably the same amount of money and then not had to ship it across the ocean and go through all that stuff. So, yeah, but the game industry is just stuck with the idea, we got to send everything to China. We got to send everything to China. And I'm not like, it's not like a nationalism thing. I have nothing wrong with the folks in China or anything like that. Don't get me wrong. It's just that, I mean, I've seen companies go, some companies go straight out of business. Some companies teeter on the edge of going out of business because they're getting stuff produced on the other side of the planet, and then life gets in the way. You know what I mean? It's just the way it works. Catalyst has had that same problem themselves. They made their own game instead of using a licensed game like Shadowrun or Battletech. They made a game called Leviathans, which was kind of cool. It had these little pre-painted plastic, like kind of Victorian or maybe even like, yeah, I don't know, like, you know, late 1800s like battleships, but it's alternate history. And they could fly because there was anyway, there was an element that if you electrified it, it became lighter than air or whatever. Anyway, alternate history. And so it was basically a game of flying battleships, which was really kind of cool. I mean, it was a cool rules system. The models were neat. And it took them almost 3 or 4 years from the time they announced it at Gen Con, when I was interviewing them, when I was still with Beasts of War back in the early 2010s, until it actually got to America because of issues with China. And it wasn't like print issues even. It was literally, it's an alternate history game, but in the fluff, I think they referred to Taiwan as its own country. And China was like, no, you can't. Taiwan's always been a part of China. And then the guys from Catalyst were like, "Oh yeah, no, totally, yeah, no, we absolutely agree. But this is fantasy. This is alternate history." And then they were like, the Chinese were like, "Ah, gotcha, yeah." But we've always, so they had to change it in the rule book to be able to ship it out, and it was a whole thing and back and forth. And so, I don't know. I think like I said, I've told that story before, but I don't know. This is why I have not got back into Battletech, is just because it seems like it's hard to get this stuff. I mean, that's the issue with all of these games. Talking about Adeptus Flyeronicus or whatever the heck that game is called. If you can't find the stuff for it, and then you're not going to be able to get into the ecosystem. You know what I mean? Now with Kill Team, I've had people reach out to me and go, I can't get into Kill Team because I can't get the starter box. Well, with that, you just buy the book. And the book is available most places. You can just buy the book and then go from there. That starter box is real nice to have, but it was a real good value, but it's not a requirement to start. But on some of the games, sometimes, yeah, the starter box is kind of the thing you need, or sometimes it's the cards or the boards and stuff. And GW's been pretty good about it, and of course, again, we're coming through a pandemic, so this is not all just them going, geez, we should probably not print stuff. It's them really would liking to do more production, but unable to. So yeah, it's a whole thing. Let me see here. Snakebite leather is the best. It is a really, really good thing. The old plastic Alpha Strike plastics weren't so great anyway, so not too much of a loss. Yeah, I can see that too. I have the old Battletech introductory box and heaps of plastic mechs in it. It's what I used with Alpha Strike downloaded rules. Nice. What did you use to paint the gold on your Storm Bros you did earlier over on Twitch? Those guys were silver? Yes, they were silver. Yeah, there's no the Stormcast that I did on Twitch for Warcry were silver and black. I didn't do them in gold. So I think that's the answer. I'm not sure. I don't think I had any gold on there. Like the majority, I'm almost positive they were all silver. I don't think I had any gold bits on them at all, now that I come to think of it. I mean, I use gold sometimes and stuff like that. When I do usually use gold, I use Pro Acryl's Rich Gold. It is a spectacular color and I love it. But yeah, those Stormcast were all silver and black. In other news, I'm starting to get into 15mm sci-fi. Bought a whole bunch of alternative armies, Ion Age, HOF. I'm not sure what HOF stands for. After I discovered some of my old Traveler minis. I've never been into 15mm. Like, I got into Flames of War. This is Flames of War. This is a tank driving over stuff. I don't know. I got into Flames of War for a hot minute, and mainly because a bunch of friends did and stuff. And I just, I mean, the terrain is a nice scale, you know. The tanks are a nice scale. I got no interest in painting little tiny people that are like this big, though. I think that's my main issue. But the tanks are fun. Let's see here. How would you go about building up a collection of model bits? I always want to try converting from kits I don't have, but I hate spending $3 or $4 on a single random bit on eBay. It's just basically over time, you know, as you build a kit, what you should do, once you get done building a kit, if there's any leftover bits, you just cut them off the sprue, recycle the sprue, get rid of the sprue, do something with the sprue, and then just keep all the bits in pill bottles or in one of those like clear plastic little segmented craft things. Sometimes they're also for fishing tackle. You can get them at your hardware store or your sporting goods store. There's like clear plastic. It's got like a lid and stuff, and you know, people use them for who are into beading. Like there's all kinds of different things, you know, with the little beads. But they're little areas, and then you keep stuff in there. Put them in Ziploc baggies, all kinds of different things. But yeah, just always hold on to whatever. Anytime that you, especially like Games Workshop specifically, gives you a lot of parts, and you can't use all of them very frequently. So always hang on to the other parts. You'll find some use for them. But cut them off the sprues, and then that way you're not taking up a bunch of space. A lot of people started to play Age of Fantasy from one-page rules because it's been impossible to get things, and love that they can get their old armies and it doesn't matter who makes it and plays pretty well. I mean, the one-page rules stuff is very smart. They're very smart the way they're doing it, and I know a lot of people are getting into it. I know Asmodee was moving more stuff to print in Europe, and the board game printer in the U.S. just announced that they were investing a lot in their facility. I'm pretty sure it's a European company. Yeah. Have you set up your resin printer yet? Can you suggest a resin printer for a beginner? I have not set it up yet. No. I'm still working on the basement a little bit. Going to be working on the basement a bit more today, amongst many other things that I got to do, including prime my devout for Rain and Hell. But I mean, I know that, like, I don't know, Elegoo is a good name, or Elgoo, depending on how you want to pronounce it. They're a pretty good name. The one that I have is called a Saturn, which is bigger, but they also make some other ones. Mars, maybe, I think, is another one that's also got a decent screen to it, but it's not huge. But if you're printing miniatures mainly, it's fine, you know. But yeah, but frankly, I'm not an expert on it, so I probably ought not to be giving a bunch of advice about, well, you should definitely go with this one, because the reason I bought the Saturn was because my friend Game Format also has a Saturn, so when I'm like flummoxed, I can be like, well, and then he can tell me how to fix it or whatever. So hopefully that's the plan. For Kill Team and Warcry, people break up the boxes for the minis so you can buy the core books on eBay cheap. That's also true too. Yeah, people will buy it just for the minis and stuff, and then they don't need multiple copies of the instructions. So let's see here. So glad with the new Kickstarter. I've been seeing a lot more Battletech stuff in stores. Hopefully it'll be better once shipping starts getting back to normal. Yeah, here's hoping. Absolutely. Let's see here. Trying to get back into gaming after 10 years. Loads of painting figures. No gaming during those years. Well, you know, but still, painting is, I don't know, I like painting a lot. But definitely, if you're interested in getting back into gaming, now is hopefully the time, you know? I mean, that's kind of the trick. I have not yet played a game in store yet. So there's that. But my local stores have opened things back up to having in-store gaming. My closest local store had just basically said no in-store gaming for a good number of time. And then what they did was they went through, they have two stores. There's the old store and the new store. And the old store is just, they're still renting it and keeping it as storage, and that's where they do kind of the eBay business out of. So a lot of that stuff then came to the new store in what used to be the gaming area, and then got thrown up on eBay and got churned a lot faster and stuff like that. And then now that it's back into, in-person gaming, all that stuff moved. Well, the stuff that didn't get sold off, obviously, they moved back. And so that was a good use of the space, I guess, for at least 6-7 months. But right now, well, longer than that, actually. But right now, they are starting to have, like, Friday Night Magic again, and you're seeing people there playing. I just saw someone playing some Warhammer Underworlds there when I was there picking up paint. What was I picking up? Basilicanum Gray. So you're starting to see that stuff happening. Like I said, have not done it yet, but you're starting to see that stuff in that direction. I am going to some conventions this year. So currently the plan is Gen Con, which is the biggest in the country. So there's that. It has been moved from August, which it's usually early-ish August. It's been moved to mid-September to kind of push things a little bit further down the road. It's not ideal for a lot of folks because school is back in session. So there's a lot of folks who are either teachers who can't go now, or who have kids and whatever, the kids are in school and anyway. So there's that, but that's what they're doing this year. They're also limiting to some degree the number of people that can go. They're, I think, limiting the vendor hall a bit. But things are being fluid as far as that's concerned as well. This is the thing that's interesting, is we're in a position where right now you can make decisions and try to make ideas, but those things may change because things will either get better or worse, potentially slower or more quickly, if that makes any sense. It's an incredibly weirdly moving target. Like, there are parts of what's going on right now in the United States that are doing better than we thought they would be at this time. And there are other parts that are like, meh. But, people were making decisions back in March and April thinking, well, maybe things aren't going to get that much better as fast as they are. And then, look at Nova Open. Nova Open is normally in late August, early September, and they just straight up were like, we're not doing it this year, which I respect as a choice. But I have a suspicion that within a month or two of them making that decision, they might have thought, oh, geez, I kind of wish we hadn't done that, because all of a sudden a lot more people, at least in the United States, got vaccinated a little bit more quickly than we kind of thought. And so there's that. But I think it is the safest probably for them, and it makes sense to if they can do this. So hopefully, like, I want to go to Nova 2022, absolutely. I am going to, like I said, I'm going to Gen Con. And then I'm going to, in October, late October, there's a weekend and this is what's also starting to happen, is you're seeing a lot of these groups pushing their conventions later in the year, which means that they're all on top of each other. So in October, there's Origins, Gamehole Con, which is in Madison, and Dragonfall, which is run partially by moderator Matt. Well, Gamehole Con and Dragonfall are the same weekend, and they're both in Wisconsin, like 120 miles apart from each other. So that's, Origins is in Columbus, Ohio. I don't know if it's the same weekend or not. It might be. Who knows? I'm not going to Origins this year. So there's that. But I'm going to go to at least Dragonfall, but maybe I'll go to Gamehole Con in the morning or something like that, and then drive 2 hours to Dragonfall and then stay there, and for the evening and all that kind of stuff. That one takes place in a hotel, so you can get a room and stuff like that. The Gamehole Con is like, in normal times, is 5,000 to 6,000 people, and it takes place like in a convention center. So I'd have to find something nearby or whatever, but we'll see how it goes. But yeah, and then I'm looking at potentially going to Board Game Geek Con in November in Dallas. And they've already talked about how they're going to probably have some maybe limited numbers and kind of, but again, November, things could be doing great, at least here in the United States. I'm hoping that we can start to help the rest of the world a bit more, and I would like to see that. The next convention after that would be in January 2022, going to Las Vegas Open at the end of the month. So I'm already planning on doing that. So I don't see myself in general doing as many flying around engagements. Kind of like 2019 was the year I traveled the most I've ever traveled in my life, and I traveled to a lot of conventions and stuff like that, and up to Canada and just all over the place for the channel. I'm gonna probably start to ease that off a little bit, but we'll see how it goes. I mean, like, I don't fly to Adepticon, I don't fly to Gen Con. Those are both driving. Adepticon for me is like a 3-hour drive, so it's easy. So yeah, but I don't know. It's that's the thing. It will be interesting to see. Like, I'll be very interested to see what they're going to do with Gen Con. You know, like, I've been going to Gen Con since 1992, and it has grown immensely. And 2019, there were 70,000+ people there. And that gets into situations when you are literally shoulder to shoulder, like trying to get down an aisle or whatever, because the Kingdom Death booth is over here, and there's a zillion people in it and stuff like that. And you're trying to just get down here, and then this guy's backpack keeps hitting you in the face or whatever. And I think we're going to be a little bit less interested in doing that as much. So we'll see how that goes. I don't know. Again, if you've got the vaccine and you're all vaxxed up and everything like that, you are in much less danger of any kind of situation like that, but there's still obviously a lot of things. I'm not a doctor, so don't take my medical advice, but there's still concerns, obviously. So we'll see how it goes, you know what I mean? There have obviously been, like, here, at least in the States, there's been sporting events that have been happening, and people going to stuff and like that, and they're sitting, I mean, admittedly, they're still kind of outside, but some of them are inside. You know, like, there are some hockey. My wife is a big hockey fan, so she's been watching hockey, like Stanley Cup final stuff and things like that. And in Canada, they're still basically empty stadiums or rinks. I don't know what they call them, whatever. But in America, like, she was watching some Islanders games, and those guys were just at full capacity. You know what I mean? So it depends. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. But I'm hoping for the best. Let's say that. But I do want to start getting back into playing with folks face to face again. You know what I mean? Hopefully Sam and I are going to be able to play some Warcry soon, because we've been talking about it for a while. He's all vaxxed up, but he's been busy with stuff going on in his life, and he's been helping out his girlfriend a good deal because she had back surgery or something like that, and she's getting better from what I understand, so that's good. But yeah, so hopefully soon. I want to play some Rain in Hell with him as well too, so that'll be cool. All right, so that was my yammering on for the show. Let's see. Tend to find out about local shows or conventions after they have taken place. That's Facebook's fault. Facebook is dumb. I was so excited to actually get into the store and do some gaming. Unfortunately, one of the other players is just so annoying. I've been avoiding going. He's not toxic or anything. He's just super annoying. That is a bummer. I didn't understand that panic move. I'm always amazed at how little comprehension people have of current events. The vaccination is simply on schedule. I mean, you know, though, there's nothing wrong with A, being cautious, and B, understanding that very frequently things don't turn out the way they're supposed to. So this is actually surprising, to be honest. I'm very surprised that we're doing as well as we are, and we're still not doing great, but we're doing pretty good. I just assumed everything was going to be crap because I'm, at nearly 50 years old. So I can understand why they did that at Nova. Like I said, I will bet that probably a month later they probably had thought very differently about it and gone, take backsies? Anything? No? Which I can, but there you go. I think it's smarter to err on the side of caution, frankly. GW is doing the Orlando thing in August, and I was considering going, but I don't know how fun it'll be outside of the tourney. Oh, I thought you meant the tourney was outside in Orlando. That would suck. Ugh. Yikes. Yeah, I haven't even paid attention to that. Like, I just saw, like, GW was like, oh yeah, there's these 3 tournaments. And I was like, I assumed at first they were having tournaments at other shows, but now I haven't paid close attention. I kind of don't really, I don't know. So there's that. Patrick says, as someone who lives in Nova, Northern Virginia, if you're wondering what Nova Open stands for, it's Northern Virginia. The whole DC metro area has been super risk adverse when it comes to the pandemic. That decision made sense at the time, given the attitudes there. Oh, totally. I can, like I said, I can understand that, and I think it's better to err on the side of caution. I mean, that's part of what caused Gen Con to move from early August to mid-September. because there's a lot of crap that happened. Like, it's during some holiday, I think a Jewish holiday. Yom Kippur? No, that's not. It's during some holiday that's like, and people were like, really? You guys decided to do this during this holiday that I can't remember? I apologize. And I was like, I mean, the thing is there's so much stuff that goes on in Indianapolis, specifically downtown. I'm sure that they weren't just like given a choice of like, well, where do you want to move it to? You have all these different options. No, they were like, you either do it when you're supposed to be doing it, or you can do it this weekend. Those are your two options. You know, there's probably not a lot of wiggle room. Went to a con in February. I've been gaming since last summer at a local store here in Florida, going to a game con in Orlando, and then Historicon in Pennsylvania in November. Nice. Never been to a con before. I was planning on going to one in 2020. I don't know. I know I won't be able to go this year, but maybe 2021. But currently it's 2021. Are you sending messages from the past? I hope not. I'm hoping you meant 2022. I'm not sure, but yeah, if I wasn't vaccinated, I wouldn't be going anywhere. I'll be honest with you, completely. Just it's not a thing I would do. So yeah. My province, Alberta, is lifting all restrictions as of Canada Day. Oh, nice. Which is July 1st. Nice. Pittsburgh Penguins is 100% capacity. Yeah. They're not still in, are they? I think my wife was watching that. I don't remember. I don't pay close attention to to sports, I guess, in general, I guess. Stanley Cup being played in July, should be done over by March. You know, it feels like... Basically, it feels like the hockey season is 15 months long. It's just, like, it overlaps itself. You know what I mean? Like, the Stanley Cup is going on, but then they've already started playing for next year with the other... It's just... It seems like it's always on. It's a very long... very, very long... season. Gaddis Gaming, how you doing, Lee? I really missed TMX. It's one of my favorite conventions. Well, that's very nice of you to say. I appreciate it. I also missed it. We'll be, unless stuff goes real squirrely and pear-shaped, definitely we'll be doing it 2022 in person again. Earliest June 2022. Oshkosh, Wisconsin, at the University of Wisconsin-Oshkosh. 2 years ago, 2019, we had a great time. About 70 people showed, so that's a fun little party, and I enjoyed it. So yeah, if you do consider at some point coming to Tabletop Minions Expo, TMX, that's what that is, understand that it is not fancy or big or anything like that, but it's a good time. Shanghai is like 80% vaccination now. They are giving away bags of rice and olive oil to incentivize people. Very strange. Well, whatever gets the job done. Probably Rosh Hashanah. Since they're both Muslim. Yeah, it was one of the two. Hey, Jason, how you doing? Played in 2 different 40K events over the last couple of weeks. Things are back. It's good to hear. Absolutely. Well, I'm hoping games I play get events at the Michigan GT, and if there's games I'll be going to that, which is in October. Oh, I might be going to a thing in November, too. Holy Havoc? It's in Northern Illinois. It is a Age of Sigmar tournament, but it's a doubles tournament. I was going to say couples tournament, but that sounds weird a little bit, but it's not. It's a doubles tournament, and it's super, super cash, as they say, the kids. And I'm mainly going to hang around with Vince and probably Tom and Sam and folks like that. In theory, Sam and I will play, I think. We still need to chat about it. But yeah, I'm not any good, so there's that. But I have the book, I guess. I got that going for me. I forgot about that one, though. That one just got an email about that one recently. Hoping games I play get events at the Michigan... Oh, I just read that one. Hockey season matches the Canadian winter season, of course. Well, there you go. That makes about sense. Penguins were one and done, out first round, as per usual. Ontario had 3 lockdowns. The latest one in effect since March is starting to lift, probably gaming in late July. Nice. Uncle Adam's wife, hearing about him talk about hockey season being too long. I see you woke up and chose violence. I mean, I have no problem with her watching it. Absolutely. If I really wanted to watch something on, well, I was going to say if I really wanted to watch something on TV while she was watching, We don't really technically have a second TV. I mean, there's another TV in the basement, but it's not hooked to anything that gets television. But I don't really watch television per se. If I want to watch something, I will probably watch it on YouTube or maybe HBO Max or something, or Netflix, but I can get all those on a computer screen, so it's fine. It's not a problem. I get 3 hours pay for getting vaccinated, and I'm entered into a lottery for a cool 1 million. Nice. I think they did that in Ohio, too. They had a lottery that was involved in that, too. Sean Clark says, hey, Adam, just joined. Hope you're well, fella. Picked up the Rain in Hell book. Just wanted to say well done to you and Vince. Well, thank you. I appreciate it. Can't wait to finally have a reason to get Creature Caster stuff. Yeah, no, I mean, that's the the really big Creature Caster things. Well, if you can get it to fit on a 60 millimeter base, 60, then your Devout could be a giant honking Creature Caster monster. But Creature Caster is also starting to make smaller stuff, too. Stuff in the 28 millimeter range and things like that, so you could use those as well. That would be cool, too. Not going to any cons this year myself. More because I'm going to be gaming with people around here again next year. Absolutely, not a problem. Is it just me, or have I noticed a load of sci-fi skirmish games released in the past 6 months? Zona Alpha, Star Breach, Stargrave, and a couple others. Zona Alpha, I would not say is sci-fi. I would, if any, there's an alien encounter, but it technically happened in the past. Like, it's done. Aliens came, landed on Earth in a bunch of different places, did alien stuff, and then left. And left behind a bunch of junk. And then the governments of the countries in which the aliens landed were like, well, we need to put an exclusion zone around the landing site because there's some cool stuff in there, but there's also stuff in there that makes your arms fall off or whatever. I mean, there's just, you don't know. Magnetic fields that turn your feet to jelly. I don't know, just icky stuff like that. So you have to watch out for that stuff, so we'll put a fence around it. That should work. Well, it doesn't work. People sneak in and stuff like that, looking for the cool stuff and hoping not to get their feet turned into jelly. So that's kind of Zona Alpha. Like, it's sci-fi in that aliens showed up a little while ago, but it's basically AK-47s and gas masks and stuff like that. The rest of those, though, yeah, and including also games like Planet 28, like I said, Space Weirdos, that kind of stuff. But yeah, I think it's cool. I like sci-fi skirmish, small little stuff like that. I think it's cool. As an immigrant to Canada, I really tried to like hockey. It just didn't take. Like I said, not a sports guy myself. I would say I prefer... I was going to say I prefer it to football. That's for sure. I kind of prefer it to baseball. Yeah, I would rather do most things than watch it on the TV, I think. So there's that. So I don't know. If I want to watch something while she's watching hockey, I can hide in the stairs room and watch it on my phone if I know it's good for me. I would just, I have no... If she wants to watch hockey, that's the thing that she enjoys to do. And like I said, I have plenty of other places I can do things. But more often than not, I'm generally like, I'm going to paint or work on something or whatever. So that's not a problem. We've just never been like one of those like lots and lots of TV families. Like when I was a kid growing up, we always had like a TV in the living room, there's a TV in the kitchen, and maybe one someplace else. Was there one in the basement? At one point there was, but it was like an old one. But I had lots of friends who had like a TV in nearly every room, and that's fine. But my wife and I both are kind of just like, we have the one TV, and we're like, it's fine. We don't really need, it's fine. Because a lot of times, neither of us is using it. She's playing like Civ 6 on her computer, or she's reading or whatever, and that kind of stuff. But normally if she's knitting, normally if she's knitting, she's also watching television, but sometimes she's knitting while she's also playing Civ 6. It's not necessarily a super, like there's times when you're kind of waiting for things to happen a little bit so she can do some knitting, which is cool. I'd still say it counts as science fiction, if not futuristic and in space. That's true, I guess, yeah. I feel like it's still more of a modern game, but then the fact that some aliens came and, I guess that's true. That's probably, specifically, that's probably true, yes. I'm getting Mantic Night Stalkers for Rain in Hell. Nightmare demons looking to torment humans seems like a good Earthbound cabal. For sure, yeah. Actually, I just ordered some stuff from Mantic that I couldn't find anyplace else other than like directly from them. So I ordered it directly from their website. and I think it was 2 Night Stalker pieces. One of them kind of looks like a squid, but with no tentacles, like just the pointy head part. And it's got tentacles, but they're real short for just like walking along the ground. Like if a squid had tentacles that were only about 6 inches long, and it sort of like walked along the ground, made that noise like that. But also you could see its brain hanging out a little bit, like with weird brain panels on the side of its weird. But yeah, so there's that thing. And I ordered something else from them too that was, I think, also from the Night Stalkers group. And I'm like, I can make a demon out of that. That'll be pretty cool. So yeah, both of those things I ordered from Mantic. And also a cool robot, which I'll probably use as another cool robot thing that I do. Yeah. When I was an alcoholic, baseball made perfect sense. Well, I could see that. Baseball is great to listen to while painting. I could see that. Yeah. I find baseball makes me sleepy. Like, every once in a while, like, frequently on Sundays we go to my in-laws for lunch, and then the Brewer game will get turned on, generally partially through lunch or maybe after lunch, depending on how the timing goes. And then very frequently I sort of fall asleep on the couch. So there's that. My birthday is coming up, and I'm trying to convince my family that getting me models is a good idea. So far, they don't seem convinced. Maybe they are playing the long con. Could be. One year, years and years and years ago, I just basically told all my friends and family I just wanted money, and then I took that money and added more money to it, and then I bought the what do they call them now? I'm forgetting the name. It's the big Games Workshop plastic boards. Realm of Battle boards, that's what it is. The Realm of Battle boards. The original ones that kind of had like little cracks in the boards and you could see skulls underneath there because the entire planet, I guess, was made out of skulls. I don't know. Yeah, it was like $300. And so, like I said, I asked for everybody who was going to be giving me any kind of present, just give me money. And then I added more money to it, and then I bought that thing. And I still have it, and it's painted. And I used to play on it all the time. I do actually want to start playing Kill Team on it, although it's a little big, 24 by 48 instead of 22 by 30, but we can work it out. It'll be fine. But yeah, that's one of those things that I kind of did that with one year. Just I was like, gonna do it. Let's see. Mantic have some great stuff. Some of their early sculpts were naff, but they are getting really good now. I don't know what naff means, but I think it's bad, right? Mantic just did a Summer Games preview. Dead Zone 3.0 confirmed. Well, never did get a chance to play Dead Zone 2.0. I have a painted Enforcers group and a painted Plague group, and I have painted Terrain. And took it all to Adepticon back in the Dead Zone 1 days. We were going to play it one night, and then got it all set up and started reading the rules, but we were kind of drunk, and so we didn't really play. And then second edition came out, and I got the book, and still haven't really played, and now third edition. That's how it goes. I had my feet turned into jelly once. Me and my wife snaffled 2 bottles of Polish vodka. So that's another word, snaffled. I'm not quite sure what that means. I got a general idea, but it's not what you... what do you think of the green stuff world items? I have a lot of chameleon color shift paints. Just got some glow-in-the-dark resin crystals. I've never used any of their paints or fluids or anything like that stuff. The only stuff of Green Stuff World I've ever had is the acrylic rollers for putting texture into like your bases. If you put a little bit of green stuff on your base and then roll it across, and now it looks like bricks or whatever. I have some of those, but I've never had any of their paints or anything like that. Let's see here. Baseball on the radio is great while camping. Oh, I can see that. Seeing Green Stuff World just announced their color shift paints and spray cans. Kind of interesting, yeah. Let's see here. Classic Skull Planet. No, absolutely. Can always mark the area off. Yeah, no, absolutely, certainly, yeah. Or just put a bunch of weird terrain that's hard to get by. That's not a problem, too. I mean, and the thing is that games don't, like, we decided to kind of go with the 22 by 30 size for Rain in Hell mainly as a suggestion, because we're assuming that maybe you have those boards or it's becoming a popular size. The 22 by 30 size is also a really smart size because it fits on regular tables at the game store. 3 by 3 tables don't fit on a 30-inch across 6-foot conference table. You can't put a 3 by 3 on a 30-inch thing because it's 36 inches, so you need 6 more inches. But if you have a 22 by 30 table, not only can you run it the horizontal way, so it's running along the width and then have plenty of space, but even if you needed to have like a tournament and run 2 or maybe even 3 of those kill teams on a normal conference table, a normal 6-foot by 30-inch table, you could still fit them. They would be just right up to the edge, and you'd need to have your dice and all your stuff on the sides, but you could do it. And I think that was a smart plan. That all being said, Rain in Hell, most other games, you want to play them on a 3 by 3, knock yourself out. You want to play them on a 2 by 2, great. Go, you're going to have to tweak things a little bit, maybe here and there, in the scenarios and stuff. But that's why we play tabletop games, because we can just be like, I'm going to just change this. It'll be fine. Can't do that with video games nearly as easily. If you know how to mod things, sure, great. Most of us don't, so there's that. I got Gaunt's Ghost thinking it would be a rare thing. Turns out every shop has a billion copies. Well, but if you got them though, so that's pretty cool, Dead Zone 3.0. Currently just using Dead Zone stuff for one-page Grimdark Firefight, but definitely enjoyed Dead Zone 1.0 and 2.0, so curious to see what they'll change versus just add more factions. Yeah, I'll be interested in seeing what it is too. Yeah, I don't know. I just... There's a little part of me that's just like, I don't... Like, Vince and I don't plan on making, like, Rain in Hell 2.0. You know what I mean? We don't look at making a second edition. We're basically going to... We may make a sequel at some point or something that's adjacent to it, as far as it's not required to have the first one, but it's maybe in the same kind of world and uses roughly the same system, but is still different and throws in some new things. We might do that down the road. We've talked a little about kind of, well, if we wanted to do something like that, that's what we would do. But it's a ways away because we've got other games lined up already that we're working on. But that being said, I don't know. I mean, when you're a big company, that's what you do. You're like, you make this thing, it gets popular, and then you make it again, so the same people buy it again, and that's just a thing that happens. But it is a bummer. New to Kill Team, bought the book. I like the Space Marine Reaver models a lot. Need a suggestion for second Kill Team to fight them for father and son games. I mean, orcs might be kind of fun. You could do that. If you can find the models, Death Guard might be also a lot of fun. They're fun to paint. Death Guard, the benefit is that if you get... There are some cheap ways to get Death Guard. If you can find them, they make these little kits where there's like 3 Death Guard in there that are just push fit and they go together. They're made out of green plastic. And then they also make a box with, I think, 6 Poxwalkers as well. And each of those retails for like $15. You may not be able to find them on the website, but you may be able to find them at your local store, depending on your local store stock and stuff like that. There's also a game that they made, like an add-on type game called First Strike, which again is, I think, out of production, but you might still be able to find it. It was pretty inexpensive, $40 to $50, and it came with 3 Primaris and 3 Reavers, and then it also came with like 3 Death Guard and then like 6 Poxwalkers, and that would be a good place to start as well for pretty inexpensive if you can find it. Loving the Turbo Dork paints for painting dragons. Yeah, I got to do some more Turbo Dork stuff soon, I think. I think 22 by 30 is basically just a way to make a map that folds up nicely for an 8.5 by 11 book/box. I mean, there may be some manufacturing concerns, but I know the fact that it fits on a regular conference table has made several of the people that I know that own gaming stores go, oh, good. Like they're happy about that, because 3 by 3 foot games are always just like, well, this doesn't fit on this table. What's wrong with this table? Well, the table's 30 inches wide. That's what's wrong with the table, So yeah, it was a I think a conscious idea on their part to make it easier to play in game stores, make it easier to play like in your own house. You make it a big weird size and it's kind of difficult. So Playing small games on a big table is easier than big games on a small table. Yeah, I can see that too. Well, let's see. That's actually the direction I was leaning in. I wasn't sure on balance. I thought the models would be fun, though. Yeah. What can I do about all my local stores only selling GW products? I mean, you could ask them to start stocking other stuff. Stores are going to basically use what they use. You know what I mean? They're going to store or what sells. They're going to stock what sells. And if they don't, the only way that I've seen sometimes other stuff show up into stores like that is either if the store owner has got a slightly more eclectic taste, or if people start playing this game more and more at their shop and ordering stuff from the shop, and then the shop gets it, and then they play it in the shop, and then eventually the shop's like, well, we'll just order some of that stuff so you guys don't have to come and come to me to pre-order it or to special order it. I'll just start, what's the stuff I should carry? And then that kind of conversation generally happens. Rain in Hell 2, rain harder. Nice. Let's see. Rainer in Hell. Rainer in Heller. Ooh. What's the story with Space Weirdos? You mentioned it a few times. I just stumbled across it on the wargamevault.com website, and I really liked the cover. And then it was $4.99 for the PDF, and I bought it. And it's just this little 16-page booklet, and I just really enjoy the rules. And there's like just a bit of humor kind of in the way it's written a little bit here and there, and some spots, kind of dry humor. But the rule set's also just, I think, very interesting, and it's a fun little sci-fi game. And I like fun little sci-fi games. So like this, Planet 28, both of these types of games, I'm super interested in just being able to like sit down and like have a bunch of different sci-fi models and then put them together into groups and play and do things with them. What am I working on right now? I'm taking Hobgrots from the Dominion box set, and I'm giving them guns and backpacks and stuff like that, and turning them into medics and making a warband for Space Weirdos. But it's a fun little skirmish game that's designed. Like, there's not a ton of scenarios in here. Again, it's not a lifestyle. It's a 5-page PDF or a $5 PDF. It's I think that a lot of folks in the industry are looking for like an identity of like, I play Age of Sigmar, or I play Games Workshop stuff, or I just play 40K or whatever. I'm a big fan of I play war games, and so I like to have some of these and some of these and some of these. And the benefit to it is that if you play inexpensive games and you use a lot of miniatures agnostic rule sets, and you have tons of miniatures that you just like to have because they're cool, you can almost always go through your collection and just like I don't have to come up with new models, building, buying, or painting, all that stuff for this game. I can go through the stuff that I've been working on and take like a couple of Necromunda dudes and like this lady from this thing and whatever, and build myself a warband and go to town with something like this. If I want to add more, great. But yeah, so that, like I said, it's a cool game. I had a couple of conversations online actually with the designer. Turns out he and I know the same people. He lives in Minnesota, and so hopefully we'll get to hang out at a convention, maybe Adepticon, and chat some too. But so yeah, it's just been my most recent kind of fun thing, and so I like it. Let me see. Mars Attacks is a fun version of Dead Zone. Shame it's discontinued. Oh, I remember Mars Attacks from Mantic. Yeah. There's a Facebook group for zines. Basically, it's a bunch of people to get together and make super condensed games and help each other self-published. Oh, that sounds like a lot of fun. Yeah. Again, like I said, this book, well, this is a PDF you can buy, and you can just use it as a PDF, look at it on your laptop, look at it on your iPad. But when I was looking at it, I'm like, the aspect ratio doesn't seem 8.5 by 11. It seemed narrower. Then I just kind of did some looking at it, and I was like, oh, it's designed to be printed out at that size. And like I said, Adobe Acrobat allows you to print out into a booklet, and then there's some settings you got to tweak a little bit, but then it just printed out all the pages properly, and then I just folded them, and then I've got one of those staplers for stapling it, and there you go. Rules are temporary, models are forever. It's true. It's very true. Let's see here. Let's see. I'm hearing a cat being sad. Carlson. I don't know what he's bummed out about. Maybe he sees a squirrel or something. Still have 3 pieces of 5/8 plywood that are 3 foot by 4 foot. I plan on making them into train boards to fit nicely on a 4x6 work table in my garage. Nice. I want to build a like an actual board, 22 by 30, for Rain and Hell, but also be able to use it for Warcry if I want to. And I'm looking forward to that. I have some ideas on what I want to do, and I just have not pulled the trigger yet, but I'm hoping to this summer. My brother printer has a build-in option for booklet printing. It's awesome. Oh, nice. Yeah, the printer that I used has the ability to print on both sides. So basically what it does is it basically prints out one side and then sucks the piece of paper back in and then prints out the other side. And I don't know quite how it does it, but yeah, the other way is you have to like basically flip the paper and stuff like that. So it's a little bit of a pain in the butt if you don't have that type of printer, but a lot of printers these days will duplex and print both sides in some fashion. And so yeah, it didn't take a lot of time. But I've always been a big fan of like zines. Like back in the day I used to collect a lot of little, like, basically zines are kind of like homemade little kind of products, publications, if you will. It's back before there was a lot of web pages and things like that. Now people can just make a blog, but back in the day, people used to make these little printed zines and stuff like that. So yeah. You are the reason I keep pushing Kill Team on my play group. Well, that'll happen. I hope it sticks eventually, but that's good to hear. Uncle Adam, do you and Vince foresee making expansions or additions of Rain and Hell? I was just talking about that. No. Our next game, we're planning on trying to make a game a year, and our next game has got nothing to do with Rain and Hell. It's a totally different kind of genre. I mean, it'll still be miniatures, agnostic, skirmishy, with a decent campaign system. We're not into building competitive game rules or anything like that. We're basically, we've got this idea of the type of game that we want to make, but we're going to change not just the set dressing, the fluff and everything like that, but it's also going to be, we're going to change the other stuff, the back. Hang on a second. I got to go check and see what's going on with the cat. Hang on. He seems fine. I don't know what it was about. Maybe he saw something outside, but he just kept doing it and kept doing it. And but he's not trapped anywhere or anything like that. So there's that. Let's see. Do you foresee making expansions or additions? So, like I said, no. Maybe a sequel at some point. We've talked a little bit about ideas, potential about that, but yeah. Double-sided printing, it's a little module that rolls the paper in and around. That makes sense. So you play Warcry? I do. I have got, I think 5 painted warbands. Do I? I've got Skaven. I've got, well, now I've got more because the rules have come out for the Soulblight stuff. So technically I'll probably have maybe 6. But I have Nighthaunt, Skaven, Stormcast Eternals. I swear there's another one in there too that I can't even think of off the top of my head. But yeah, I've got at least those 3, if not 4, but definitely now 5 because of the skeletons and all that stuff. Rain and Space Hell. Ooh. I went all in on Gene Stealers and now I kind of lament it. They're very pointy. Got my Rain and Hell printed and bound locally in A5. It's great at that size. Why? What does the U.S. printed copy come out at? The normal print size for the book itself, which is right here, whoops, is at our standard letter size, which is 8.5 by 11. So 8.5 by 11. So that's the standard size here. The file itself, actually, when I make it, is a slightly little bit larger by about 1/8 of an inch. It's what's known as bleed, because to get like the print to go all the way to the edge on the cover and on all the insides and stuff, like, you know, with that, to get that to go all the way to the edge, there's no printer out there that can print to the edge of a piece of paper that I know of. So what they do is they print everything just a touch larger on slightly larger paper, and then they trim it down. So, but yeah, we went with the 8.5 by 11 because it makes it also easier then it just makes it way easier to then produce the PDF pretty much the same. So it works out nicely that way. Yeah, Kitty seems fine. I don't know. He was being very loud for some reason, which he's not normally. Hey, Zambies, how you doing? I fell for the trap of, if I start with Kill Team, you know, same with Warcry, that's how they get you. That's the whole idea right there. Good morning, all. With things opening up, my friends and I will start a Blood Bowl 2020 league, and I can finally play Warcry and Kill Team. Nice. That is the trick. That's the thing. I think that with things opening up, people are obviously going to start playing again, and I could see people doing a little bit more in the way of like campaign stuff and things like that, trying to plan ahead a little bit more. You know what I mean? Definitely. I'd be more into Kill Team and Warcry if they would do away with all the cards and the tokens. You know, I don't disagree. Well, okay. With Kill Team, I don't mind the tokens. But then again, I don't use the tokens. I use these dice. There are 6 different tokens that you use for Kill Team, and there are 6 sides on a 6-sided die. You may have not known that, but it's true. And so I use these dice that it's just really easy to just turn the die to the different icon. And then, you know, you're like, oh, this guy is readied. And then when he shoots, you're like, this guy shot, or this guy charged, or whatever. Instead of those kind of bigger tokens that they made, which are, frankly, in my mind, too big, especially for the size of the board you're playing on, I like the dice, and it's just really easy to flip them and turn them over to show what's going on. Warcry's got a lot of that, too. Yeah, I gotta be, you know, like, there's a lot of games out there that are miniature games that I immediately kind of discount out of hand because there's too many cards and tokens and all that kind of stuff. Like, I'm not a big fan of the... it's cool, but I don't like it. It's well done. When I say I don't like something, I'm not saying it's bad. I'm saying my opinion is that I'm not interested in playing it, but if you enjoy it, that's great, and you should totally enjoy it. Fallout Wasteland Warfare? Is that what I think it's the Fallout miniature game. There's just a lot of cards and tokens and little bits, and it just, yeah, and that's the thing. That's... You know, you can use some tokens if you want to with our game, but they're not a necessity. And so we wanted to make something. And the cards thing, I don't know. I just don't... Some people love having the cards, and that's great. I'm not super interested in the cards, partially because then you have to take a lot more care of them, and you have to probably get sleeves for them. But if it's a Games Workshop game, good luck getting the cards because they were limited edition or whatever. It's a pain in the... Yeah, I prefer just being like, hey, I got this rule book, and now I'm just going to go to town from there, and it'll be fine. Seems like GW puts out a box set every quarter, so in theory, 2 more will come out this year. Any predictions on what they will be? I still think that a second edition of Kill Team's coming out this year. Kill Team launched in summer of 2018, so 2021, that's 3 years. They're on generally a 3-year cycle for this stuff. I've also mentioned in the past how Vince and I have had this discussion, and I agree with him. Games Workshop made a ton of money last year with the launch of 9th edition 40K and Indominus. This year, because of the way the corporations work, you're always trying to beat last year. You have to constantly try to beat last year, which is stupid, but there it is. Well, one of the ways they can hopefully try to beat next year is to launch Age of Sigmar 3.0, which they did, and then hopefully also Kill Team 2.0 in the same year, and maybe those two products will add up together to make as much money as 40K did last year. And so I still think it's coming. I'm not sure, but I think it's coming. As far as anything else, that I have no idea. I don't know what their plans are on any other box set stuff. Calvin says, I love the cards and tokens. And they know that. Well, not that you specifically, but they know that there are plenty of people that do. I'm not one of those people, but there are people who do dig that kind of stuff, and that's why they sometimes do it. It's just also more stuff to sell, like, oh, you can buy these dice separately, and you can buy this. I noticed recently, where was I? I was at some store recently. They used to put the dice in those like plastic tubes. You know what I mean? That were not like that were kind of square, and they would be like stacked in there 2 by 2 by 2, and they would sell all their dice that way. And now they're selling them basically in blister packs, and you don't get a plastic tube to keep them in. And I don't know if that's just a cost-saving thing, but they didn't lower the price, or if it is people were like, we don't like those plastic tubes and we throw them away, and then at that point it becomes wasteful. I'm not sure which it is, but I kind of like the plastic tubes. So there's always something. Someone likes one thing versus another thing. There's that. I've been writing a gritty, crunchy skirmish game for myself and playgroup. Learning how you have published Rain and Hell has pushed me to want to publish in some manner. I think that publishing, it's great to publish through companies like Wargame Vault. Admittedly, there were some hiccups. If you are going to actually print, as opposed to just producing a PDF, again, this Space Weirdos game and a bunch of other games like Planet 28, you can get on there, and all of their stuff from the same guy, Nick Evans. He does also Brutal Heroes, Brutal something. It's basically a fantasy version, kind of a Planet 28, but they're all PDFs, and I don't think he does the print versions through Wargame Vault. He may sell them through his own website, but I'm not 100% sure on that. That all being said, just the PDF is really super easy, and if you do need to make a change because you forgot to put in some stats or something like that, it's very simple for you to just go in and upload a new version. Everyone who had the old version will get an email saying, hey, there's a new version, blah, blah, blah. It's great. Print is more difficult. Not a ton more difficult, but if there's a piece of advice I can give you, just don't update the print version. Work really, really hard to make sure you don't need to update it, because if you update it, it can take up to 2 weeks until they finally allow you to start selling the new version again, which is a pain in the butt. So, yeah, but definitely proofread the heck out of it. Unless, like I said, if you're only going to produce it as a PDF, well, then you can just keep uploading new versions, and then everybody gets it for free, and that's great. But it's a great system otherwise for doing that. They take 30%, which is kind of standard with lots of different companies. I don't know if Steam takes 30%, but I know Apple and a lot of those guys are taking 30%. It looks as if maybe some of those companies are going to start lowering that number because other companies are starting to do that. I don't know if Apple ever will, but yeah, I know that. Twitch takes 50%, which is, but Facebook Gaming announced, Zuckerberg announced specifically that Facebook Gaming is going to take 0%. So if you start streaming and doing subscriptions or whatever the heck they call it over there on Facebook, you start doing that through Facebook Gaming, they are going to take 0%. And until 2023, and then when they do start taking some money, it will be less than 30% is basically what they've said. They're not going to do that. So, it'll be interesting to see if those things change. But self-publishing is cool. It's a lot of fun. Now, admittedly, you don't necessarily have, one of the reasons our game is sold well is, I hope, because it's a fun game, but it's also because Vince and I have a lot of people to talk to. So your average person who's designing a game, putting it out there, and they maybe don't have the reach that we do, and I can understand that. So yeah, but still, it is also relatively inexpensive. Art can be expensive, but just designing stuff is not too difficult. Let's see here. Those tubes were great to carry dice around in. I know. I was so surprised recently. I saw, like, I think it was maybe Sisters of Battle dice or whatever, and they were just like on a blister pack. And I'm like, well, that's weird. The Dominion box is still to sell out, so it looks like being not successful as Indominus, possibly by a long shot. Nothing sells as good as new 40K edition. It could be a bunch of things. It could be that it could be that it's just that Age of Sigmar is not quite as popular as 40K, which we know. That as far as sales are concerned, Age of Sigmar is doing great, but it doesn't sell nearly as well as 40K. It also could be that this time they actually printed way more than they thought that they needed. Like, because when they did Indominus, they're like, oh, we printed enough. Absolutely. We did way more than we needed. And then they found out they were very wrong. So now maybe what they did this time was like, all right, we need this number, X. And then they went like, okay, cool, double X. And then that's how much we'll produce. But yeah, like everybody was like all up in arms about, oh, Indominus or Dominion's going to sell out. And it still hasn't. So, if you're interested, go check it out. Go to your local game store first, pick it up there. And if you don't have a local game store, then maybe try to order it. But again, it's not even sold out on GW's website. So I do think it is a situation of them, either it's a combination of Age of Sigmar not being quite as popular as 40K, and also the fact that they probably were smart this time and just cranked out a zillion of them. So I hope that works out. To avoid that whole out of stock thing, do print on demand along with printable 3D models. Not only are you avoiding out of stock, you're also avoiding shipping, which especially in this day and age is a pain in the butt. So yeah, if you produce like One Page Rules is doing the same thing. They're selling STLs and they're selling the rules. And so you could download the rules, you've got them on your iPad or whatever, you're downloading the STLs, you're printing them yourself, nothing's getting shipped nowhere. It's an awesome way to do it, to be perfectly honest. I think it's a great way. Facebook will take percentage for the low price of whatever privacy you had left. Well, sure. Yeah, no, don't get me wrong there. I'm not saying Facebook's good. I'm saying shots fired because they basically said, we're not going to charge the creators anything for the entirety of 2022. And when 2023 comes around and we start charging, taking a percentage of your whatever your income is through the, subscriptions or however they do it over at Facebook. I've never even watched Facebook gaming. Will take less than 30%. So that's immediately pointing towards Twitch, who's taken 50%, and you're basically talking about two giant multi-billion-dollar corporations basically having a slap fight, which I'm always for, don't get me wrong, and maybe eventually Amazon will do something. Probably not, but, we'll see how it goes. What's better, in your opinion, Instagram or Twitter? If you're talking about for miniatures and stuff like that, like if you're like, oh, I'm painting a bunch of things I want to show people, I honestly think Instagram's better. Not a fan of either army, so I won't be picking up Indominus, but we'll get the book. Yeah, I mean, there's so much fluff in the book. There's a lot of lore in there. It's interesting. Age of Sigmar sort of suffers by not having Marines, i.e. an army that basically 90% of the gamers have, and thus will want the new models in any new box set. Yeah, I could see that. Next big release, I'm going to be super upset over something that's not even out yet. They didn't print enough. Sure, yeah, no, they haven't printed enough of the next thing that they haven't told us what it is yet. That's probably true. I'd love to get that Dominion box, but I already have too much to work on. It would just go on the pile. Well, maybe you'll get it for a discount. I mean, not through Games Workshop, but maybe eventually your local store might have a discount. Hard to say. The Q thing helped stop the scalper bots. Yeah, that sounded like a smart move too, yeah. Shipping is brutal, especially to Canada, or at least to Canada. Yeah, no, I've heard that, definitely. 29.99%. Even if they did 30%, it would still be less than the 50% that Twitch takes. So, again. And there's been other companies that have been talking about, like Google, I think, for Android is going to be producing less, or going to be taking less. There was something just recently about how they'll take either nothing or very little if you put out an app up until you reach $1 million in sales on your app, and then they'll take a percentage or whatever. And the idea is to get, because there's a lot of people out there who are like, I would start this app, but you're going to take 30% off the top, and I have to try to figure out how to work around that, and that's a giant pain in the ass, and whatever. But now you're like, well, let's say, how about once you get to 1 million, we'll start taking a cut, because that'll be a good problem to have, won't it? And then these companies are like, all right, that's cool. Because think about it, like even if you're like putting products out there and you never make $1 million in sales, $900,000 in sales is still pretty awesome. You know what I mean? Like that's just, that's pretty good. So yeah, just any way for them to get new people involved into making more apps to make the ecosystems more dense and have more things and more choices for more people, it just makes a lot of sense. Perhaps gaming will go the way music has gone, shipping bits rather than atoms. Yeah, I mean, to some degree, I think that you're always going to have people making models that you buy that need to be physical things. Resin printing, I will be very frank with you, resin printing is further along than I kind of thought we would be by this point. Like, I was looking at stuff that was FDM, like the printers with the spool of plastic, like those things. And I was looking at those and I'm like, yeah, it's pretty cool. I mean, you can make some terrain out of that stuff like that. It still looks a little janky, but it's not terrible. Then sometimes you can get like a really good one that does good work, and sometimes you can put stuff on it to help smooth things out, the little lines and all that jazz and whatever. But it becomes an entire another hobby. Like to get those things to print as best as possible, you are doing so much tweaking and it's a lot of work. And your average Joe doesn't want to do all that. So it's not something that's going to happen. And then resin came along, because resin had been out there for a while. Formlabs had been producing these resin printers that were super cool and made amazing looking models, but they were $5,000. And your average person is not going to spend $5,000 on a printer. And then all of a sudden, companies like Frozen, or Anycubic, Elgu, and a lot of other ones, all of a sudden started making these $300 and $400 resin printers, and then those started turning into $200 and $300 resin printers, and the stuff coming out of them looked astounding, like really quite good in comparison and easy to make generally. And all of a sudden, bam, then you see all these Patreons just pop up out of nowhere, because it was going to become a situation of like, hey, it's very cool, I can print this stuff, where am I going to get files from? Well, now you're not worrying about files are everywhere. So yeah, but all that being said, you're still going to have people who are going to prefer the plastic. And there are still people out there who won't buy plastic models because they still prefer metal. Okay, that's cool. Whatever. But yeah, it is interesting to see how things have changed as quickly as they have. I've been surprised. I really love the Age of Sigmar models, but I don't enjoy playing it. You might look to Warcry. Because Warcry is going to use you can use a lot of the same Age of Sigmar models, but it's a different game. It definitely is. I know a lot of people are jazzed about the new orcs, but no one I know plays Stormcast. Gotcha. Amazon servers are probably hosting both Twitch and Facebook, so they don't care. Yeah, that could be the case too, yeah. I don't know. I think Facebook is probably hosting their own servers. I would be surprised if they were using AWS, but maybe they are. I think many of us went buck wild over the pandemic and are sitting on huge piles of shame, not shame, potential, as a result. Maybe that's a contributing factor to Age of Sigmar not selling out. Again, like I said, I think the main thing is that Age of Sigmar is not quite as popular as 40K, and also I think that the anti-scalper bot thing that they did on there also helped a bunch initially. And I think also they just cranked out way more this time, because they were like, we are tired of this happening. I mean, I'm sure they're tired of stuff selling out and all the flack that comes with it just as much as we are. So they were able to just be like, we're just going to run this. Like, they probably ran that game in their own production facilities for, oh my God, just months and months and months and months and months. They just printed nothing but that, you know what I mean? Or produced, stamped it out, whatever, the plastic. I worked at a printing company years back after college, and we made labels, mainly paper, but also some poly stuff and whatever, but it was mainly paper. And we had 5 different presses. I think it was 5 different presses. And one guy on one press, when I first started there, he ran the same label for a month and a half. Like every day he would come in, get everything all set up, tweaked, everything set, oil, get the machine oiled or what, I don't know, whatever you do. Anyway, ink, you shake some ink in there because it's like Parmesan cheese. It's not. It's not at all. Anyway, and then he would just print this one label. He printed 50 million of this label for this napkin company. And that's all he did every day, 5 days a week for a month and a half. And he would just sit there and watch it go until like the paper would start to run out. He'd have to stop it, put a new roll on there and all this stuff, and then take the old rolls off and do all this jazz. And it was just, that was just because they wanted 50 million of them. And we're like, all right, cool. So there was probably something like that going on a little bit at Games Workshop at their Nottingham plastic manufacturing place, probably for quite some time. Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see. Lord knows you can still walk into some stores and still find Dreadfleet. I don't know if some of you were even been in the hobby long enough to remember Dreadfleet, but it was a ship combat game, like boats, that took place in the old world, because this was pre-Age of Sigmar. That didn't sell nearly as well as they had hoped, but, Age of Sigmar does well, I think. Love my FDM printer for terrain. Unfortunately, don't have space for resin. Don't think my roommates would like the smell either. Yeah, that's the one issue. I mean, I'm going to be using the water washable stuff, which I've been told by friends who use the same stuff that it smells less, but I'm still trying to figure out good ways to vent out this little room in the basement that I'm hoping to try to use for that printer. I saw somebody just recently, somewhere on Facebook, and they basically bought like a grow tent. So, like, let's say you grow orchids yourself at home, or whatever, and it's like this big plastic rectangle. Well, it's not plastic; it's vinyl. It's like it's soft-sided vinyl rectangle that's all reflective on the inside because you would hang lights in there, and then the plants would grow. But it's got a big honking zipper on the front, and then he just basically took that. And I think he put a hole in it so he could put a dryer hose on it and then vent it out with a fan or whatever and all that kind of stuff. And then he's got like a wire shelf inside there because it's big, But yeah, there's lots of little options like that you could do too, I think, as well. Formlabs printers are great for the real work, especially in the industrial design world. Hobby printers are terrible to deal with. Yeah, I mean, for people who want to print out some miniatures at home and stuff like that, you want to go with the inexpensive stuff generally. Formlabs is amazing, and that is for pro stuff. But initially, when Formlabs came out, like, they were the only resin printers in town, kind of, that were even vaguely, potentially affordable by your normal home user. Like, I know a guy who has a Formlabs printer at home. And he spent $5,000 on it, but he's like an architect, and so he does sometimes his own stuff freelance for models that he has to build for architectural stuff, but he also is into gaming, and so he's printing, Star Trek ships and crazy stuff like that too. So orchids, indeed, yeah, you know what I'm talking about. Let's see here. 3D printing turning into an episode of Breaking Bad at this point. Well, I mean, like I said, sometimes if you're real sensitive to the smell, you want to figure out how to get rid of it. And they're even calling odorless, but I don't know how those work. I have not come across those yet. Like I said, the stuff that I'm going to be using is the stuff that I've been suggested by my friend Game Format, and it is the Elgu water washable, I can see the box from here, photopolymer resin. And he says that, and he uses it in his house, and he doesn't think that the smell's that bad. So there's that. First Strike or Recruit Edition 40k starters, best way to get a couple of kill teams. Yeah, I mean, it's a good start. Like, technically, if you wanted to do just the original First Strike box, even with there being 9 models in there, I guess, for Death Guard, I don't think that it's enough models to make 100 points. So you'd probably have to still add, like, another Death Guard guy if you can find one. I think, to get 100 points, because I got a friend who tried to do that, and you can totally make a 100-point list with the Space Marines that are in there, but the Death Guard, like 3 Death Guard and 6 Poxwalkers, is not enough points, and I think you have to add like 1 more Death Guard, which if you can find one out there, I'm sure you can, like on eBay or whatever, it should be fine. I think Dreadfleet came out in 2012, or 2011 or 12, I think you're right. Let's see. Once the patents all expired, there was an explosion in innovation. Yeah, I can see that. I got my Anycubic earlier this year, and I found the smell was really strong for a few weeks, but honestly, in a 1-bedroom with a window, it's not bad anymore. Well, there you go. Confucian Crow says, I use the same resin, can confirm it barely smells at all. Nice. Correct. Death Guard in the first strike box is not 100 points. Yeah. I mean, it wasn't designed for Kill Team, but again, it was one of those deals where Games Workshop gives you two forces that are not equal, kind of like, from what I understand, was the same with Indominus. Those two forces were not equal particularly. So yeah, but it's a good start. And like I said, you can go onto eBay and just pick up another Death Guards guy somewhere, and then I think that will get you right about there where you need to be. My Death Guard list for Kill Team is just 6 Death Guard. I don't have any Poxwalkers because I just don't like their heads. I don't like their goofy faces. I should probably try to build some Poxwalkers and then just give them different heads or something. I don't know what. Yeah, I don't know. I saw somebody on Reddit or Facebook, I'm not sure who, but they were building a cabal for Reign in Hell, and they were using, the philosophy they were using I think was called the Empty, and they used a bunch of models, and I don't know if they took like an acetylene torch, not acetylene, I don't know, like a little blowtorch, like a little, or what they used. Maybe it was one of those things you use for creme brulee. I don't know. But they basically took a bunch of different models and just sort of melted their faces off, so there was just like a hole kind of where their faces were. And it really worked well for that look. And I was a couple of them were GW, and I can't remember if there were any Poxwalkers in there, but I've thought about that. I'm like, these Poxwalkers, if they just didn't have heads at all, that wouldn't be so bad. I just really don't like their faces. Have to do some chores before I get to paint. I have a concrete slab to repair and a shed to build. That's a lot of chores. Jeez. I can still find Dreadfleet in stores cheap. Yeah, my local store's got at least one copy, if not a couple. I just now built my Kill Team terrain from the Tau/Wolves box 2 years later. Better later than never. You know what I mean? Butane torch? Yeah, that sounds about right. Not acetylene. First strike boxes are hard to get. Might have to piece them out from eBay. Yeah. If you can, your best bet is honestly going to be if you've got some local game stores near you, go and check there, because sometimes they've just got we bought this and it never sold, but it's still sitting here on the shelf, and then you can pick those things up and it's great. But it's not a guarantee by any stretch of the imagination, so it is what it is. But yeah, it is a good set. It was a good set for that, definitely, and it was one of those things when I made that video, I missed that. I missed the potential for that. Again, you still couldn't have made a 100-point list with the stuff in there for the Death Guard, but you could have gotten close-ish. Still haven't built my OG Kill Team terrain. I like the OG stuff. I've got a bunch of it painted, and I've actually got some more stuff that I need to also paint from, not the original set. I think the original set, do I have everything done in the original set? I know I have all of my Warcry stuff done except for one ladder that I somehow primed and then forgot to paint. Or did I forget to prime it? Something like that. It was not great. It was just it was after I got everything done, and all of a sudden I was like, where'd this ladder come from? Son of a... Yeah. So, so there's that. But with the Kill Team stuff, I think I got all of it painted. I know I've played tons of games on the terrain that I did get painted. So there might be a couple extra little walls here and there that I didn't get done, but I think I got most of it done. But then I bought... Shortly after Kill Team came out, they came with that set too that was like the bigger set of the terrain, but it also came with those 2 statue dudes. And I was like, well, I really want those statue dudes, but I also want more terrain, so I bought that too. And I have built some of it, but not all of that. But I've also primed some of it, but not all of it. So let's see. Do some decent proxies for Hex. See, I don't mind the bodies on the Poxwalkers. I just want to replace their heads. I'm not quite sure what. I always bust out the green stuff and put hoods on the Poxwalkers. That's possible too. I had a friend who back in the day wanted to do Death Guard and didn't have any of the models, and so he just took, or was he trying to make Chaos Marines? I don't know. He was trying to do something like that, and he didn't have the models, so he just took regular Space Marines and then took a lighter to their faces, and then just held them and just lit them so their faces melted, and then that turned them into Chaos guys. And it was like, that's fine. It works out okay. Really feel like you need to have a video on how to store all this wargaming stuff. Running low, and it sounds like you have a ton, so curious how you store it. I have a lot of shelves. I buy these plastic shelves that are made by Plano. I get them at the local hardware store, especially when they're on sale. When they're on sale, sometimes they're as cheap as $20. Otherwise, they usually run around $25. But I think they have 5 shelves, and they're all plastic tubing, and you just kind of slot everything together and stuff. And I've got a bunch of them all over the place in the basement, and that's where a lot of stuff is stored. one of these days when I get things running in the basement, I will then actually do an actual real tour. I was always going to do a real tour of the current studio, but now I'm moving away from the move, so that's not going to happen. But someday it'll definitely happen. It will. Made my own poxwalkers from crypt ghouls with skulls for heads. Ooh, I could just put skulls on the poxwalkers. That might be not so bad. That'd be pretty cool. All right, folks. Well, it is time for me to go. I got to get something to eat for lunch soon, and I hope everyone gets to go out and start playing some games again safely with some people nearby, and maybe even go to conventions if you're into that kind of thing. Like I said, I'll be going to some conventions starting in September, and we'll see how it goes. And I'm hoping to, like I said, play with some games locally. Hopefully play some stuff with Sam soon, too, as well. And then maybe we'll even film something. Could happen, very possibly. But yes, yay! Eventual basement tour. It'll be something. It'll be something, all right. But it's not this day because it's a real big mess down there. I'm gonna go work on it some more actually a little bit later on this afternoon. So probably after I get some things primed. We'll see you again in 2 weeks. If those of you are in the United States, I hope that this upcoming weekend you have a nice holiday, new Independence Day thing and all that kind of stuff. And again, stay safe and don't blow off any fingers with the fireworks and all that kind of jazz. It's important. It's very hard to paint when you don't have any fingers, or even if you're just missing a few. I bet it's difficult. Tabletop Minions has a lot of shelving when he just says, I was going to buy some stuff, and then I popped down to the basement and found I already had some. Yeah, that's called shopping the basement, and it works out just fine. All right, so anyway, we'll see you again in 2 weeks, and everybody stay safe and have a good time, and thanks for watching.